What are we going to talk about this time, ladies?
Well, what does the thumbs up in Teams mean? It's very controversial. Some people think it means, yeah, I agree, that's fine. Other people think it means, yeah, noted, I've read it. Other people think it means, oh, yes, I am still logged onto Teams. I must pop the thumbs up on so that my boss knows that I'm engaging with that alert that's popped up. And other people think it means that they like what you said. So I feel like Teams etiquette is a wild
Wild West.
wild west of HE inter staff and interdepartmental communication, because interdepartmental Teams communication, minefield.
Yes, I think it definitely depends on the context, though, doesn't it, of the post? Because there's definitely some threads that we have, particularly between different teams, where different teams on Teams we have, between our team and finance team is in another building, and the quickest way we can communicate about particular student cases is popping it in the chat, and then the team that receives it and actions it gives it a thumbs up. So I said to him, it's like, don't thumbs up it unless you've done it, because then I'm going to ignore it if it's got a thumb on it. If it's nothing is there, I know nobody's done anything. So but then that's not, in other, like in our inter-team communications, in our chat channel, we'll get all sorts of creative emojis stuck to people's comments, and it actually can be quite funny when we start. People get very creative with their attachments. I've started using the praying hands, both to mean please and to say thank you, and to say, like, thanks in advance. Praying hands, like, please do it. Please, sir, can I have that thing that I need from you?
So I had this client who relayed a story where she had a team member who was criticised by a senior member of staff for being too active with the emojis. And they were like, don't they understand the seniority and the etiquette around how you communicate with senior leaders? And then this poor manager had to try and figure out a way to say that to this team member that was like, so can you please stop sending emojis to the director? She doesn't like it. I was like, just awful.
Oh no. I see. We don't use the emojis quite so much, but I mean, and it's right within the team, if someone's got celebratory news or something, so people might like put variation emojis. I find it a bit weird that people use hearts quite liberally to be like, more than a thumbs up. They're like, oh yeah, this is great, I love it. Now, I love it, it's fine, but sending me a heart feels a little bit awkward sometimes. I don't know, that's just, to me, I'm like, this isn't Facebook. I don't know, it just feels a little bit awkward.
Well, is there then some etiquette about what colour the heart is? Because I was on a webinar recently where people were sending different coloured hearts, and I was like, does this mean something different? I don't really understand.
Well, it's not a red heart, so therefore it is not a romantic heart, I think, is the vibe.
As
and
if
people
anyone
use it.
sends romantic hearts on Teams or webinars.
Who are we to judge with how people flirt?
I don't think those are the emojis you use if you're flirting by emoji.
I don't know.
Good. Another good episode. Love it.
The most senior people in my directorate are the most liberal with the emojis. And it really kind of gives permission for everybody else to have a bit of a laugh, and to, especially if someone will say will be speaking, and this one very, very senior member of our uni will put, I love that, in the chat, and he'll be really, really enthusiastic, and it's just so nice, because you're like, oh, you can, he'll crack it, and they'll be cracking jokes to each other, the senior people in the chat, and it's just like, oh, I love it, they're being human and like at ease, and that kind of puts everybody else at ease. But our team, my immediate team, we love a GIF. So the team chat is full of GIFs, and some of the ones that people come up with, where did you even find that? But they are hilarious, my team.
I have a funny story about the GIF usage. There is an art to it, obviously, knowing, you know, in terms of kind of reading the room and knowing the tone and everything. And I had some temporary staff working for me one summer, and we sort of start them off at very much like data entry clearing, you know, answer the phone, do the applications. But the ones that showed potential, that did a really high quality piece of work, you know, we slowly upskill them, give them additional tasks, etc. So they get to a certain point where we'd be like, we're going to set you up like an actual staff member, and they would have access to Teams. And one of the girls, she got really excited, and I said something like, oh, this is your, you know, this is the chat where we'll give you the work to do, whatever. And she came back with a GIF, and it was one of those where the first image of the thing was like perfectly sweet and like thank you, but then it like she hadn't watched it all the way through, and it like flipped to something totally inappropriate. Oh. And it was absolutely hysterical because obviously she didn't realize straight away. And then my colleague across the room like looked at me, and I looked at her, and I sent her back and I said, I'm not sure you meant to send this one. And if the floor could have swallowed that girl up. I've never seen a person go quite so bright red in the face as she did. It was really, really funny. So it did teach me, don't take a GIF at first glance. Always watch it through.
I do overthink my GIFs. I often change them out and I'm like, oh, watch, no, I'm not sure. I better not. No, let me do this different one. It's like, oh, will people have, you know, interpret a certain statement out of that? You do have to be a little bit careful, but luckily most of the people at our team are pretty chill, and they're all, you know, it mimics the chat in the office in the same, you know, so people get it, because half our we alternate, so half the team is out and half the team are in, and so it's very rare that everybody's all in the office together. It's very loud when everybody actually is in. Everybody's so excited to see each other, and they're just chatting. I'm chairing a meeting. Please, I can't put myself on mute when I'm chairing.
There's always the colleague that sends you the funny GIF when you're in a meeting with them, and they send it to you privately, because they're this equivalent, you know, when you're like rolling your eyes or you think someone's done something funny and they send it to you and you cannot keep. I'm not very good at keeping a straight face sometimes, and I'll be like, stop sending me funny GIFs. Do you have to be careful? But I think it's the equivalent of like nudge under the table, or like winking, or, you know, when you eyes meet across the room with a colleague and you're like, what is going on? Or I'm confused. I have no idea what's happening.
I'm the sender. I mean, I'm always the one sending it and then watching them try not to laugh.
But then there's that thing.
I'm easily amused.
But then there's the thing where you're in real life, in person, and someone's presenting from their laptop, not realizing they haven't turned their Teams off, and the little chat, the like slightly abusive chat pops up in the bottom corner. Like, oh no.
Oh, if you take away anything from this conversation, it will be the one tip: change your Teams notifications so when they pop up, it doesn't give you a preview of what's being sent.
Yes. I do always make sure that which chat I'm putting in it, especially if I'm saying something particularly sarcastic. It's like, oh dear, don't put it in the meeting chat. That would be bad.
I'm sure we've all done one or two where we've quick delete before anyone sees it.
This was edited. Oh, why? What did they say before?
One of the things I do is rename, because if you've just ended up with a chat with a few people in it a bit organically, I always change it, like give them a title, because that's when I sometimes get muddled. Like if there are the same person might be multiple different chat group things I've got going on, and I might think it's like those two people, but actually I've picked the one that's those two people and someone else. That's when I've like sort of got in a panic before, so I rename them, like give them their own name, so that those conversations, so that I know like who's in it, and I'm a little bit less likely to do that, because I've also had, as I'm sure many middle managers do, where you have a chat with all of your like immediate direct report team members, so they can ask you questions, or you can relay information, and then they have their own like just peer group, so it's the same people but without the manager. And it's very funny when very occasionally they forget which one they're in and they post something and I'm like, you did not want me to see that. It's a bit like being in the big shared office where they forget I'm in the corner. I hear some things that make me giggle sometimes because they forget I'm there.
My current confidential meeting room is our stationery cupboard.
We'll just leave everyone with that image of you for the next 2 weeks, sitting in your stationery cupboard with your laptop.
I imagine
And
it's
then
also
they
you're
hang.
sitting on one of those like wheelie Dalek things as well. Like I imagine you don't have a proper chair. It's just
It's a very broken chair. It's the broken one that got shoved in the cupboard. And then the table I put in there as my meeting table to house my laptop, the exams team decided to take over. So it's now covered in exams boxes. And I've like carved out one tiny little corner, and there's the Christmas tree is, you know, under my feet. Guys, this was supposed to be my meeting room.
It's
I guess
your cupboard.
it was the stationary cupboard first, to be fair. So have to share.
Thanks.
See you later.
I'm just going to be thinking of you all the time, Kelly, in your little cupboard.
In my little cupboard. Yeah, it's really not very nice in there.